Good morning, everybody. I wanted to welcome you to the Ability Tools webinar that is featuring the NATADS training that is going to be presented by Vance Dhooge, who is a senior application developer, and he works for the Association of Assistive Technology Act Programs, or ATAP. Vance, welcome, and I am going to turn the time over to you. Thank you for coming today, Vance.
Of course. Good morning, everybody. I am Vance Dhooge with the Association of Assistive Technology Act Programs. So what I'm going to be showing you today is the NATADS application, which was developed for states to use, geared around the annual progress report that's required as part of the ATAP program. And the 8 core activities involved in that report. So if you have not gotten a user ID and password, Kevin will be providing those for you as we get all of you set up. I have set myself up as a test user for a test region within the program. So, and this is actually on a local database, not on the actual live database. So everything that you see here today is just going to be kind of some test data, and won't actually enter anything into your system. But it is kind of mimicking what you see in your system. And actually, it's got me assigned to the, if you look at the top, there's a welcome, your name, from whichever region or partner you're associated with. And the system, separates out the data throughout the entire system by the region that you're assigned to. The only caveat to that is the client information. That's going to be a shared database across all of the California partners, so that you can share client information and the client database throughout all the activities in your organization. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. What we're going to do first, so you'll notice where you're going to go to is the day-to-day, the beta system. This is going to replace the old NATADS, which is the old system that was around. It's been around for about 7 years now. So it was time for a rewrite. So we rewrote it just about the time that California was coming on board. So rather than confuse you and train you in the old system and then train you in the new system, we're going to go ahead and get you right into the new system. When I say beta, we're just at the ending phase of the beta testing for this application. All the bug testing has been completed. The only thing that we're really waiting on is the accessibility usability testing that's being done by a third party. To ensure that we meet all the guidelines. But as far as functionality, the program is fully functional. There's a couple modules that we're still working on, but doesn't affect the day-to-day operation of the application. That being said, Murphy's Law says whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So I would not be surprised if we found a bug today, just because that's kind of the nature of doing live presentations. So when you log into that, or click on the day-to-day system, you'll see several options throughout the system. You've got the client inventory functions, the state level functions, which are device loan, demonstration, reuse, and state financing, the state leadership activities, which are training, information assistance, public awareness, technical assistance. On top of the 8 core activities that's required for the AT Act, if you had other activities that you wanted to track in this system, you could create custom activities in this system. And we probably won't get into that today. I want to focus on the core activities within the system, and then there's some reporting functionality in the system, and we'll take a look at that. So everything is going to be tied around your client and your inventory database. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into clients. And like I said before, the way this system operates is you'll have a client database that's shared throughout all of the California partners. And so if I view clients, I'll be able to see all of the clients throughout California. I can search that information based on certain criteria: last name, first name, full name, their county, so on and so forth. And pull up, all of the clients that meet that criteria. If I click on and open a client, it'll show me that client information, the contact information, any notes about that client, as well as any of the activities throughout the system that that client has been associated with. So it'll show me all the device loans, and it'll only show me device loans that are located within your particular partner region. Demonstrations, reuse, so on and so forth. It'll show me all the activities throughout the system. So this system is, client central. There's a modify button, so if I needed to change any of the information about this client, I can come in here, I can click the modify, I can update the address if I need to, if the address has changed, if there's a new contact information that I have found. I can add that contact information into the system, and then click save, and it'll save that information. One thing about this system is it does not have a traditional menu. It does have a top-level menu up here in the sense that it's kind of the primary activities within the system: security, my account, that sort of thing. Other than that, we use a breadcrumb type of a menu up here that you can see underneath the main menu, and that gets built as we go throughout the system. So I can go back to client home, or I can go back all the way back to day-to-day home and get back to my main menu here. If I click on clients, I can add a client. So if I go through and I don't find the client in the system, I can add the client. It will tie the client to your region, but again, because all clients are shared across all regions, anybody with, from other regions will be able to view that client information and do activities or device loans or whatever the case may be for that client. I can enter the client information, the type of client it is, individual with disability, so on and so forth. Address for that client. It already has in the system built in the drop down, so that you can choose the county. It'll limit it to cities within that county, and of course zip codes for that city. If you make a mistake at any time, you can click reset. It'll reset those, and you can start again and select the correct city, state, and zip code for that client. You can add the contact information, and you would click save, and it would save that client to the database. I'm not going to save it today. We're going to go back, and we're going to go look at the inventory functions within the system. So just like clients, you have the ability to view inventory, add inventory items, and we'll take a look at an inventory report and what that looks like. If I click view inventory, it only shows me inventory for my region, so it actually doesn't show anything here. I'm going to go ahead and add an inventory item, just so that we have something to play with today. And you can give it, the system has an inventory number that gets created in the background, but it also gives you the ability to create an inventory number, or if you have current numbers that you're using within your old system to identify barcode numbers or something like that, you can utilize that and enter it into this inventory number, and it'll keep track of that. You select the inventory category. You can create subcategories within your system, and that's an admin function that your administrator can go in and add subcategories for each one of these top level inventory categories. And you can create those. We can also create those if we import your inventory. We'll give it an inventory name. I'm just going to say third generation. I'm just going to put that iPad right here. The manufacturer, which would be Apple. The model, we'll say third generation. Serial number for that item. The date it was purchased. The retail cost of that item. The cost that you paid in your program. The location of that item, and the location of that item can be this lists builds as you enter information into here. So if you have specific locations within your region that you store items, such as a shelving or room system, so you can put room A, shelf B, and it'll keep a log of all those locations within your organization and give you a way to quickly identify locations of items. Whether or not that item will be associated with device loan and demonstration. And then, of course, whether or not it's active. And you can add inventory in the system that does not get checked out, such as apps, software, etc. That was created for some states that do that. Not all states will do that, and there's actually a better way, and we'll look at that when we do device loan. I'm going to enter a description about the item. Any accessories that go with it, the item. You can add an image for that item, of course. And of course, if that was a default image for items of this type, so you're adding multiple iPads into the system, you can set that as default so you don't have to upload the image every time you add an iPad. Click Save. It'll save that information. It brings you to the confirmation page, gives you the system-generated ID, all the information about that item. You can view device repair history, the number of loans have been on, the number of demonstrations it's been on, so on and so forth. And if we look now in our view inventory list, you can see that shows up there. And again, you can search by inventory name, manufacturer, the inventory number that you have identified for each one of your items, or the auto inventory ID that the system generates. One thing I will say about this system is it does allow you to create user-defined fields because of the fact that this system was geared around the annual progress report that is submitted at the end of each year. It only has the fields for that report that are required in that report. But the system does allow you to create user-defined fields. You can associate those user-defined fields to inventory, clients, device loan, demonstration, any one of the modules in the system to give you further ability to kind of track data about certain items or certain activities in the system. And I'll show you, this is another, I'm logged into another site here, Illinois site. And if I was doing a device loan, these are the types of user-defined fields that you can add in the system. You can have fields. The field is multiple check or multiple list value, a date field, a typical list field, a numeric field, a text field, and so on and so forth. And you can create those and categorize those how you need to collect whatever information that you want to above and beyond what's required in the annual progress report. And then you can report and search on that information throughout the system. Nothing has been created for California yet. That'll be up to the California administrator as well as your regional administrator to identify other information that will need to be tracked throughout the system and create those user-defined fields. And I can work with your administrators to create those and how to create those and so on and associate those on another training. So I have an item in here. Like I said, I can click on that item it just brings me back to that view where I can view the item information, view the repair history if there is any device loans, demonstrations, whatever the case may be. If I need to modify it, I can modify it. If I want to place an item on hold, I can place an item on hold. Maybe, or place an item on hold for a certain individual that's been waiting for it, or other administrative hold. We can do that, and then it won't be available for device loans until it's taken off of hold. We can also create a repair history. So if a device goes out for repair for some reason, we can come in and modify that. We can add a repair, enter the in repair date that it's currently in repair, and we can submit that repair. It'll automatically place that item in a status of repair, so it won't be available to for further demonstrations or device loans until somebody comes in and takes it out of repair. And to do that, you would just come in and click modify again, edit that repair history, uncheck that it's in repair, put the back in service date or out of repair date, and update it, and it'll take it out of repair, so it'll be available for a loan. The status will change to in, and now that item is available for loan again or demonstration. So speaking of device loan, we're going to go ahead and jump right into device loan and show you how to create a device loan in the system. So if I click on device loan, I have several different options in here. I have a way to view all the device loan activities in the system, add a loan activity, view a device loan report, or view an inventory report. And we'll take a look at each one of these. Also on these, when you click on any one of these program areas, it gives you the actual legal language of what defines those activities. It's pretty easy to distinguish what a device loan is, but it gets kind of harder when you get down into some of the state leadership functions like training. And this will actually give you language that will help distinguish a training activity from a public awareness or training from a technical assistance, and help you make those decisions as to what activities belong in what program area. But back to device loan, I'm going to go ahead and add a device loan activity. It'll automatically come up with today's date, the purpose of the loan, which is going to be your 4 primary: assisted decision making, serve as a loaner, provide accommodation, or conduct a training. I'll go ahead and select assisted decision making. The loan duration days, which it automatically defaults to a default that is set in admin, that is a statewide duration, but you can change that if you need to for a particular loan. I'm going to go ahead and add a client to this loan. Again, I'll go out and search my client database. It'll pull up clients throughout the system. Select the client that I want. It'll allow me to actually select multiple clients. If I do so, it'll add both of the clients to the device loan. It selects the first one that you select as the primary client, so that's actually the AT user. And you can see that it sets the AT's recipient category respectively to that user. And then I can go in and add the equipment that is going to be loaned on this device loan. I click on the add inventory. It'll go out and search my inventory for all available items. I can search by inventory name, number. You can default this to number if you have a barcode system in place, and you scan that item, and it would automatically pull that item up, add it to the device loan, and then your work would be done. I'm going to go ahead and select the one that I have, since it's the only one I have in inventory. But again, I could add multiple items. And you'll notice when we added this iPad into inventory, we gave it a default category of a vision device, which would probably not be true. It'd probably be more computers and related. but we also have the ability to change the device category of that item for a specific device loan. So if this iPad was going out with some kind of speech communication software on it, I can change it to a speech communication device for the purposes of this loan, so it tracks as a speech communication device and enters the appropriate numbers for the APR. And then, of course, I would select the primary area of AT use, whatever the case may be. I would set my performance measure to non-respondent as well as my satisfaction, because you really don't have that information until the device comes back. If there's an anecdotal story that you wanted to provide for this, or any other notes that you wanted to provide for this particular activity or device loan, you could enter that in the anecdotal story. It'll allow you up to 3,000 characters. And it really gives the program administrator that is submitting the annual progress report at the end of the year a great leg up to go out and search for anecdotal stories to include with the annual progress report at the end of the year. I'm just going to enter something there. And then, of course, I would save that information. It gives me a confirmation that it's saved. It shows me all the information on that particular device loan. From there, I can print a packing slip for that device loan. These packing slips can be modified for each one of your AT programs. It'll have the recipient. It'll have the equipment that was on the loan. It'll have some text about how to return the device, and so on and so forth, where to return it to. Like I said, all this information on this is editable, so you can choose which fields show up on the equipment loan, which fields show up on the recipient information, as well as edit this text, any of the text that is shown here. It would be up to your specific partner admin to go into the admin section and set those packing slips up. And you can also print a survey to go along with that as well, that has, again, who the client was, and ask the performance measure and satisfaction question. And you can print those out to go along with the device loan when you send it out. So that hopefully they'll bring those back when they bring it back. From here, if we go back to device loan home, now if I go into my device loan list, I can see all the device loans that have been entered for the current fiscal year. I can go back if I need to. It automatically defaults the dates to the current fiscal year, and that's a federal fiscal year. And then I can search my loans by the purpose of loan, by employee, or I can show only loans that have items checked out, so that you can see everything that still has items checked out. There's the ability to export the data, so you can export the loan data or export the inventory data, and that'll export that into a CSV format, so you can do further processing on that data. If you have user-defined fields in the system, it'll export the user-defined fields as well, so that you really can do some further data analysis if you need to. And it also gives you the ability, so back at the device loan home, now I can, if I click on view device loan report, it's going to pull up, a report. It should not show anything here until all the device loans have been checked in. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that in just a moment. There's this loan inventory report, and what that is a report of all the inventory that is currently on loan. So if you pull that up, it'll show you all of your device loan activities. It'll show you the loan ID, the loan date, as well as the inventory information that was on the loan, and it'll give you the ability to check that item in. So when that item comes back, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can search by inventory number. You can come to this report, search by inventory number. Or you can go to the clients, pull your client up, and you can see the device loan that that client was associated with. If you click on that loan, you can then click on the check-in loan and check in that loan. So there's a couple different ways that you can find the information in the system, so that you can check that loan in once it comes back in. So if I click check-in loan, it'll ask me for the date that it was checked in. It'll ask me what equipment was checked in, and I can choose one or more items. So if they didn't return everything at that time, you can select, you know, only individual items. The loan will not consider to be closed until all the items on that loan have been checked in. But it will note, it will, you know, create a flag in the system that the particular items have been checked in. And right now, if we pulled up this iPad, it would have a, you know, a status of checked out. So I'm going to go ahead, and from here we can also select our, you know, AT performance measure question as well as the satisfaction. Check that item in, and it will show that item now is being checked in. It has the end date on there, shows that it's been closed. All the item has been checked in, the date that each item was checked in, and I have that information. Now if I go back to that device loan report and view that, it'll actually show me that I have, you know, one device loan. And this is a report that, this is actually the annual progress report. So this is the same format that gets submitted to at the end of the year, at the end of the federal fiscal year, for the ATAP Act program. And all those calculations are made, satisfaction's made, the performance measure calculations are all made, so that you have that information. You can pull that up at any time throughout the year and see how you're doing. You can see how a specific employee is doing, you know, what kind of information that they've added, so on and so forth. So now we'll go ahead and move on to demonstration. And the demonstrations are very similar. You have the 3 primary activities under demonstration. You can view all the activities that have been entered, add a demonstration activity, add a demonstration report, or view the report. So I'm going to go ahead and add a demonstration activity. Demonstration is locked down by type of AT device. So I will have to select that first before I can add any inventory. And the thing with demonstration is it can be associated with the client, but it does not have to be associated with client. It can be associated with a specific inventory, but it doesn't have to be. So once you select vision, and you can either add clients that are currently in your database. So if I went in here and said this was for this client, I can continue adding clients that were part of the demonstration, but I don't have to add a client, and I can also mix and match. So if I want to add, if there was other participants, so if this client came in with his parents, but I don't necessarily want to add the parents as clients in the database, I could add other participants to this demonstration. So I can say there was also 2 family members that came in as part of this demonstration. So I can count those as my participants for this demonstration. And then I can select which inventory items was demonstrated. And I can add 1 or multiple inventory items to be demonstrated. If there was any referrals made, then I could add referrals to the system. So if there was a referral made to a service provider, I can add that in the system, so it'll calculate and tabulate that. Enter my performance measure results. The primary area of AT use, as well as whether or not it will meet the needs or will not meet the needs, as well as my satisfaction information. I can come in and say that there was 2 highly satisfied. And then again, just like with device loan, I can add an anecdotal story. to go along with this device loan. And I can save that information. Now you notice that there's certain flags that are built into the system that will not allow you to move forward if certain criteria that isn't met. And that criteria is the same criteria. It's in there for the annual progress report. So this is saying that the satisfaction results too must equal the number of participants. So if I add 3 participants, then I have to have 3 satisfaction results. And it'll flag me and allow me to go in and add other satisfaction. If there was one that was satisfied, then I can add that. And if I save it now, it'll clear that error and it'll actually save and give you the confirmation it's been saved and allow you to view that. Just like with device loan, I can print a survey. If I wasn't able to get it at that time, I can print a survey to mail out to the client so I can try to get that information at that time. And just like with device loan, I can view all the demonstration activities that have been entered. If I need to make changes on any of those, I can click on that demonstration, view the information, and modify that information if I need to make changes to that particular demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and move on to reutilization. And if I'm going too fast for anybody, I will come back to these areas, at the end. If you guys have some questions, we can go through those questions at that time. So again, I can view realization activities, add a realization activity, or view a report. So I'm going to go ahead and add a realization activity. I'll select the type of reutilization activity it is, whether it's device exchange, device refurbish, repair, reassign, and or open-ended loans. And if some of you are looking at this and wondering why that there's only 2 types of reutilizations, it's because this system will have all the current updates to the APR. And last year in the APR, they actually combined device refurbish, repair, reassign, and open-ended loan into one category. So any changes that are coming up on the APR for the current fiscal year that you're working on will be in this system before the start of that federal fiscal year that those changes are going to take place in. I get all those changes ahead of time, and I can go in and program those so that the data that you're collecting at that time will be applicable to the APR for that fiscal year. So if some of you haven't seen that, that's why that change has been made in the system, and you can see that. So if I select that, then I can add the client that was associated to this reutilization, and I can add devices that are associated to this reutilization. I can add a vision device or a hearing device. We'll say this was, or we'll stick with vision and say it was a CCTV. Enter the estimated price of the value as well as the price that it was given for. And then it will allow me to enter the performance measure and decision and satisfaction information. Of course, with reutilization, you are able to exclude some of those performance measures if you're not able to get access to that information. If you exclude it, it will ask you the reason why you're excluding that information, why you weren't able to collect that information. I'm going to go ahead and enter it and add all the information. Again, I can add a story and save that information. And then I can print a survey with this if I need to send that survey out and try to get some information from the AT user. Just like with the other areas, I can view a list of everything that's been entered, make changes to that if I need to. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to state financing. And I don't know what kind of state financing. I'm not aware of what state financing activities California is currently doing. There is cash loan activities, acquisition activities, and reduced cost activities. Of course, the cash loan activity would be if your state has some kind of cash loan program that provides financial assistance to AT users to get AT. Acquisition activities would be activities that were partnerships with certain vendors or certain other organizations that helped people with disabilities acquire assistive technology, for free. I know that Washington has a couple of those for CCTVs and things like that. And of course, the reduced cost activity would be those kind of partnerships with vendors or whatnot that helped AT users get AT, at a reduced cost. So I'm going to go ahead and go through each one of those activities, even though I'm not sure, you guys are doing those. I will show you, what data is collected in each one of those areas. So for cash loan, of course, it would be the application status, whether it's approved, not made, or rejected. The county that was in, and actually it'll set the county based on the client that's entered. The type of loan that was entered, the interest rate for the loan, the AT user's annual income, what devices were loaned for. So if it was a vision device, I like CCTVs, don't know why. And the amount of the device or devices, and you can add multiple devices for that loan. And again, just like with the reuse, primary area of AT use, the reason that they came to the program, satisfaction, and your anecdotal story. The other two areas are similar. You're just adding the activity type, whether it's a last resort activity, telecommunication distribution activity, or some kind of other activity that you're doing. And again, the client, which will set the county, the devices that were acquired. Whoop. I did that completely wrong. And allow me to add that information. Save that information. So the reduced cost would be similar. The only difference with reduced cost is when you add the device, you're entering the estimated amount of the retail cost of the device and the cost to the consumer. So you can get that reduced cost value for your report. Like I said, I'm not sure, what if California is doing any state financing activities at this time. There's only a few states that are. So I'm going to go ahead and move down into the state leadership functions, and we'll start with training. And again, it has that text up there to help you distinguish what a training activity is. Most of you already know if you've been doing these for a while, but that helps some of the new people that might be coming on and using the system. So I'm going to go ahead and add a training activity. Again, you'll enter the date, the training topic. So if you're doing AT products or service, a training on AT funding, policy or practice, combination or transition, it'll allow you to do those. IT telecommunications trainings are specifically for ICT training, so information communication technology training. So that's part of the AT Act. We're required to provide ICT trainings that are geared more towards organizations that help them, develop, policies or practices to produce accessible PDFs or Word documents or websites. And any partnerships or trainings that you do in those areas, you know, you can enter those here under IT telecommunication access. That has an IT telecommunications training performance measure that goes along with it, which asks the question, was IT or telecommunications procurement, development policies, procedures, or practices will be improved or better implemented to ensure accessibility, or technical assistance will be developed or implemented to ensure accessibility of IT and telecommunications. So if you're doing any of those high-level types of trainings, that's how those get entered. And you want to make sure that you're collecting that performance measure information when you're doing those types of trainings. If you just do a normal training on AT products or services, you know, it doesn't ask those questions. So you'll see that those questions are not asked. It's only asked for the IT telecommunications. You can give your training a title, whether or not that was a regular training, it was a training that was innovative or high impact. You know, most of your ICT trainings are going to be innovative or high impact. You know, anything that you're doing to kind of push policies or push accessibility at a high level, or something new that you're doing that maybe somebody else isn't doing. You can enter those here under innovative or high impact. Or if it's related to transition, some kind of related training is related to transition. If you choose, you know, innovative or high impact or related to transition, it asks you to, you know, it changes the description of, you know, the description. So, you know, why was it, you know, how did it relate to transition? Who provided the training? The level of expertise of the staff? All that information. So it asks you to summarize that information and summarize that training under the description, as well as enter any notes. So I'm going to do a regular training here. I'm going to add my clients. So just like with demonstrations, you do not have to enter clients into a training. So if you don't want to go through the process of entering every client in the system, and it may not be possible to enter every client into the system, you might not have all that information. But if this was, you know, a training that was geared towards a specific client, you can enter the client information here, and then you can also add participants. So if maybe there was a couple of reps of education that were also part of this training, you can enter that here and not have to enter that client information into the database. And then, of course, you know, you can enter the description of the training activity. Enter any specific notes or issues with this training for further research or whatnot, and then save that information. And it brings you to the confirmation page. It gives you the training information, allows you to review it before you move on. If you need to modify it, again, you can modify it just by clicking the modify button, which will take you back into the edit form and change any information that you need to. And then, of course, you can view all the training activities that have taken place in the current fiscal year and summarize those. And the nice thing, you know, I had something I did not highlight on before. These grid views, when you come into the lists, will give you nice summaries at the end. So it'll give you a count of all your trainings, as well as a total of all the participants at the training. If we go back and look at like device loan, the summaries on that, you know, it'll be a count of the device loans as well as the count of the devices. I think reuse gets a little bit more until it'll actually give you, you know, a count of, you know, the number of reuse activities, the number of devices, as well as the overall savings to consumer. So you can get a quick access to see that information. Information assistance. If we go in, we'll go ahead and add an information assistance activity. The type of INA, whether it's AT devices or services or AT funding. The client that it was related to. And again, you don't have to enter a client information. If you don't get that information, you don't have to. I'm going to go ahead and add one. And it automatically updates the participant count accordingly. If there was other participants on this INA, I can add them as well. I have a total count of all the participants in that information assistance. And then you can enter the notes pertaining to the information assistance. You know, this is a good example of, you know, where additional fields may come in handy. If you're collecting additional information in information assistance, at the time of that information assistance, you can create user-defined fields here to capture that information. And this is, you know, this is a good example of where a lot of states utilize the user-defined fields in the system. And then I'll save that information, and it'll allow me to save it. And I can go back, and now it shows my information assistance in the system. You'll notice as I'm building this, well, I'll go back in here in just a minute. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with public awareness. I'm going to add a public awareness, and the public awareness has changed dramatically over the last fiscal year. For public awareness, we used to collect quantitative data, so we wanted to know specifically how many individuals with a disability did you reach, how many, you know, or how many individuals you reach for each one of the types of public awareness activities that you did. They want more of a narrative now, so they're looking more for, if you do a public awareness, come in here and write a brief description of that narrative or that public awareness. So you can describe that public awareness, you know, you can give an estimated number of individuals that you reached and the positive outcomes resulting from that activity. But if you do not have the quantitative numbers, you don't have to enter that information. Again, you know, when this change was made, there's still a lot of states that collect that quantitative data. And those states opted to create user-defined fields, so they're still able to collect that data. Maybe they report it on a state basis, or collect it for their own personal progress reports or something like that. You can still come in here and create user-defined fields to collect that quantitative data if you need to. I'm just going to go ahead and save that in the system. And that'll give you, when you click view the list, it'll give you, you know, kind of a summary. It'll start with, you know, what the kind of the summary of the public awareness in that view, so you can see those. And we'll end with technical assistance. So our technical assistance is geared more towards organizations, so that you're providing technical assistance to. It might be something to do with a transition or other aspects. So you would, if you had this client in the database, if you wanted, you can enter just a company or into the database. You can do that, and then add that client to the database. You don't have to enter the client for technical assistance. You can just say, you know, I did a technical assistance for education that had to do with transition, and then you would describe the technical assistance that you did. And you would enter, you know, the estimated number of hours that you spent on that technical assistance activity into the system. You can enter any notes, just like you can with training, and save that information. Again, you don't have to enter the client here. You can put, you know, in the description, you can highlight who you gave that technical assistance to, if it was a school district or something like that, in that information. And the list will show that information. So, and again, you'll notice on any one of these lists, you can export the data. So I can export all the TA data, I can export the client data that's associated with those TAs, and have that information in a CSV format. The nice thing is we went through this. Now, if I pull up one of my clients that I've kind of picked on in the system, and I pull that client up, you'll notice under each one of these activities that I associated that client with, it'll have that information. So it'll show the device loan, the demonstration, the state financing activities that we did for that client. It also has a link down here if I wanted to, if a client came in, I pulled up client information, then I can quickly add a demonstration or add a device loan or add any other activity for that client. And the nice thing about that is when I do that, then it saves me a step on entering that form. So if I was to add a demonstration for this client, it automatically, when it pulls up that demonstration activity, it will have that client listed on that demonstration. And then I can add any other participants or clients that were related to that activity in the system. Again, like I said, custom activities, if there was other activities that you performed that you wanted to collect data on, it allows you to do that. If I click here, it's actually not gonna, there's no activity types set up in here, so I can't actually enter anything. But if there was, I could select the activity type, description, notes, and I could have user-defined fields associated to that, to custom activities, to collect any additional information that I needed to. So just an easy way, if there's other activities that you want to kind of report on that was not part of the APR, you can collect that information in this system. The numerical APR is just going to be, just like it says, an annual progress report for your partner region that will show each of the program areas for whatever dates that you set in there. And it takes a minute to kind of collect all that data. You can see it starts state financing and it moves down through each one of the activity reports. And this is what the actual annual progress report looks like. All the numbers and all the data that gets entered. So basically what this system is supposed to do is collects the data on an individual case-by-case or event-by-event basis, so that at the end of the year, rather than trying to put all your data in and kind of add it together and try to guess on, adding that together and getting it in the APR, this system does that hard work at the end of the year for you. And also allows you to collect any other data that you need to in the system. The report viewer is a way to quickly select if you want to, you view a device loan report or a demonstration report or any of the other reports in the system. You can quickly identify which report that you want to collect and view that information. And the report wizard is something that we're working on that's going to be new to this system, which will allow you a little bit of ad hoc reporting functionality to come in and create some kind of report that's more geared toward your program area or your region, and allow you to do some ad hoc reporting, and it'll allow you to select which user-defined fields and things like that you want to see on those reports. So that's something that's still in development. So I can't really show you that. That's why it's got the asterisk there. But something that will be coming out once this moves out of beta and we can start doing some more additions to the system. And that was pretty quick run through of the system, but it's pretty easy to operate. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I do like to leave a lot of time for Q&A, because there tends to be quite quite a few questions, especially when we have this many participants in the training. So I'll go ahead and open it up now for any kind of questions anybody may have.
Thank you, Vance. This is Kevin. So if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the question and answer option at the bottom or in the toolbar of your Zoom platform. You can also enter your questions into the Zoom chat field. At this time, we have two questions. Vance, the first question is from Kevin, and it says, will the NATADS system allow the use of duplicate inventory numbers, or will the system stop that from happening?
So on the inventory, like I said, it creates, so I'm gonna look at the view inventory. So it creates this inventory ID here, and that's a system generated number. So that one you don't have any control over, and that's always gonna be a one-up number. So it's got your state ID, IN for inventory, and then a one-up number from there. The inventory that you're allowed to enter is, if you don't enter anything in this field, it's not going to check it. If you do enter something in this field, it will check for duplicates, and it checks on duplicates based on your region. So if there's a duplicate, it'll alert you that that's a duplicate number. Also, serial numbers. If there's a duplicate serial number in the system, it'll alert you that that's a duplicate serial number and allow you to change that.
Thank you. Kevin had another question. He says, if I make a customized entry field, are they customized for the regional center or for the state?
You can do either. Well, you can do a user-defined field that is associated with all regions, or with a specific region.
Okay. Joy's asked a question, and she asks, when someone requests to borrow a device, where will that information be found? So a consumer online goes to our website and wants to borrow a device, where would the regional center find the
Right,
request?
so we don't have California set up to use this right now, but I do have a demonstration of that. So there's a specific site that will be linked from the California website, and under device loan, when that is activated, you'll see a device loan request functions under device loan, and you'll have a queue of all the requests that have came in, and that'll show each one of the requests, and what was requested, the number of items that were requested, the number of available if they're available, and the total number of items on the request. So if I pull this request, I can view that request, and this is all information that they would have entered, as well as you can have alternate shipping information if you have that enabled. This is some additional stuff that you did not see in yours, as well as any of the user-defined fields that you designate to be shown on what's called the request form, and it allows you to enter client information on those. So from there, I can see the requesting client, the inventory that was requested, and then it gives me a button to fulfill that request. So if I click fulfill request, automatically everything is entered. The client, any shipping information, if you have that enabled. It'll show you the device loan request information, so it allows them to enter any notes. It'll show you what devices were requested, and then it'll allow you to go through your inventory and add the requested items to that device loan. And then of course set your performance measure and your satisfaction as needed. That's another thing. User-defined fields can be made required. So if you make a required field or user-defined field is required, it will notify you that those haven't been entered and allow you to go in and enter whichever ones were not entered into the database. Once you save that device loan, it removes that request from the queue. So that if I go back to my queue, that request will be cleared from my queue. And that's kind of what you're going to look at, as things come in from the public side. One of the things that I'm doing this year is the public side of this application. And I'll just kind of show it to you real quick. It looks like this. You'll get a link that's specifically for your state so that you can see specifically, information from your state. And then of course it'll allow you to, select that whatever state, or it'll be tied to your state based off the link from your website. So this public site is going to get, it's getting redone this year. So I start work on that in March, and it'll be available October 1. And but right now it's going to be more geared around this kind of flow and this kind of a look.
Thank you, Vance. Marisol asks, will we have to enter every device into the system, or will they transfer over from the AT network?
So as far as your inventory, I do have inventory spreadsheets that allow me to import your inventory into the system. So one of the things that I've never been able to get access to or a hold of is the AT for all back-end database. It's something I've always wanted to try to get access to, so I can kind of make an easy transition. But since I don't have the ability to get access to their database, I provide you with spreadsheets that allow you to, if you can export it from AT for all and enter it into this spreadsheet, I can import it quickly so that you don't have to key in all of that information. And I can provide those at a regional level, so each one of your regions can get their inventory, and I can import it into the system for them.
Marisol, CFILC was planning to have the inventory that's in your system exported into that spreadsheet that Vance just mentioned, and then CFILC will also send the spreadsheet over to Vance to have him import your data. And at some point, we will be sending out an email that giving you notice of the last day that we're going to be using the AT Exchange as well. Samantha asks, is all the info that was entered through the AT Exchange will be transferred automatically to NATADS? So yes, all the data except for the consumer data. We have thousands of people listed in the consumer data fields of the AT Exchange, and thousands of them are inactive and aren't used. So we're going to start from scratch by entering our user data or user information into the NATADS system. I have a question. If I want to put a reuse item onto the NATADS system to have as part of our equipment that's viewable for the public to request, where would I do that?
That's something that is still in development, and this should be done by the end of the month. And actually, since I'm running in right now, I'm running in development mode, so you'll be able to see something that nobody else will yet, and that's under reutilization.
Vance, while we're waiting for that to load, Elizabeth from ATAC asks, is there a handout or reference guide on how to use NATADS?
Not on the new system. What I plan on doing over the next couple months is I'm going to be releasing some or making some training videos, and then doing some documentation as well. Like I said, because this system is brand new, that hasn't been developed for this system, but I do hope to have that shortly. But I'm always available for questions. So that email address that you see right on the login screen, if you're having trouble logging in, that's also available for if you have questions, or need guidance in any area of using the application. You can email me, and I will assist you with that. But like I say, I do plan on having some videos available and some documentation as soon as my time gets clear to do that. So under realization, it'll allow you to add items, and these will be listed publicly. It'll allow you to enter what region they're associated with, whether or not they're donated or free items or priced items, or best offer or needed. You can enter those types of items, the name, what category it falls under, manufacturer, model, serial number, that's not required. The retail cost, the listing price of that item. Of course, if you say donated or free, then it's just going to be a 0. Pending would mean that you created it in the system, but you have not submitted it. And available would mean it's available for reuse, and it will show on your public site. And then of course the description and an image, and of course the information about your how to get that item. Since you will not be allowing the public to post items, you will just see the posted by AT program. You won't see posted by client. We only have one state that is, and a lot of states are moving away from like the classifieds type of reuse, where they allow clients to or other people to post things on their reuse site. I think there's only one state that's still doing that, one or two, but it is available, and I have that shown here, and then any administrative notes about that item. And then when it's reused, you would just go in and click a button to say it's reused, and go from there. And then of course you can view everything that's out there, and so show me everything that is still listed or active, and it'll show you everything, and you can kind of see where everything that's been reused, so on and so forth. So like I said, that's still it's in the final stages of development, and it'll be released at the end of this month. I didn't move into that because I didn't want to have a bunch of bugs show up that we haven't done fully bug tested that yet.
Thank you very much, Vance, for your time. We appreciate it, and I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.